Hello, everyone, and welcome into the SunDevilSource Postgame Show. I'm Blake Neiman, joined by Chris Cartman, following Arizona State's spring football game. And Chris, wasn't like last year in which it was kind of the entire spring game the entire time. We saw some competitions, saw some one-on-ones, and then we saw some 11-11 action at the end. But what were just kind of your general thoughts of the day?
It's too windy out here. 25-plus mile-an-hour gusts blowing this direction. Sam Levitt's getting too much air under the ball, and this isn't really that a serious, scrimmage or anything like that. It's fun for fans to come out, but we learned so much more from the earlier 14 practices than I would say that we learned from tonight. Jordan Tyson, he's a deep ball threat. 71 yards, stopped at the 1 yard line. There was a ball here that was overthrown. It was just off his fingertips. He could have caught that one on a beautiful double move. Cam Scadaboo, of course, he's going to go truck some people. He got the best of Xavion Alford on one that led to a touchdown. I thought some really impressive defensive effort. Jordan Crook, had the nice play. Getting the stop here at the 1 yard line was big by a couple of players. Walk-on safety. They were flying around. I thought that there was a competitive spirit about it, but not something that you really learn a lot of. Navi Bruzan had the touchdown right here. That was nice on the rollout.
And Levitt showed some athleticism.
Levitt had a touchdown also in this, on a zone read where he scored 16 yards. So there were some flash plays, but they keep it kind of vanilla. Games on TV, you're not wanting to show too much. Not a lot of blitzing, not a lot of things that are more fancier that you might do. One swinging gate play.
That was funny.
Just to show that they still have it in the bag.
So kind of circling back to the topic of Levitt, Kenny Dillingham said he had quite the spring after all, and he was saying that he's really enjoyed his time here in Tempe so far. So what have you thought about his progression through spring ball and his odds of securing the starting job and keeping that through the season in the fall?
Well, from practice 1 to practice 10, I saw a significant improvement. Just his understanding of the scheme and what you're trying to do. He's a little bit bigger, a little bit more athletic, a little bit better arm than I thought. And you kind of put that up together and you have the makings of somebody who can do it successfully at this level. Now, still a little bit prone to getting a little bit tunnel vision and making some throws that you probably shouldn't. Being frazzled a little bit here and there, turning the ball over, got intercepted today by Caleb McCullough. That was a really nice play. Didn't talk about previously, but again, I think the trajectory is really good. The potential is there. Is he ready to be a solid, average or better Big 12 quarterback? I wouldn't go that far yet. We're going to have to see more. They visited Jeff Sims, the Nebraska transfer who had a really bad season last year, but prior to that had some flashes at Georgia Tech, and there's a possibility that he or somebody else may end up in Tempe. We'll see. But of what they have to work with right now, I think Levitt pretty clearly would be the guy.
We got to see some of the quarterbacks, but we also got to see Raleek Brown kind of out in space in his element here. What were your thoughts on his performance? I know he had the fumble down here, but he's really shifty out there.
Twitchy athlete. He's elusive. The thing that probably surprises people is he's got physicality to him. He
had some truck moves over here.
He trucked someone. He can break some tackles. Obviously one of the better athletes on the roster, has a good chance to be a return man. So between Scadaboo and Raleek Brown, it's very complimentary. And then Kyson Brown's come on. I think that they have a good backfield.
And then on the defensive side, just general thoughts on the defensive performance. Obviously, they had a couple of turnovers, a pick over here, and then the scoop and soar down there. And what do you think about this defense? I know they had a strong start to the season, had a historic performance at Washington, but in those final 3 games, it was one of the worst. They gave up like 40-plus points over those final 3 games. So what are your thoughts on their ability to have more depth this year and kind of sustain that through the fall?
That's what they were lacking, I think, was the competitive depth. It hurt them from a practice standpoint. Guys who are out of the lineup, you have a big drop-off. They're not going to be super talented up front, other than like Clayton Smith. But I think that they have enough depth that guys are going to be fresher and they're going to be rotating more. Jeff Clark's a pretty good interior pass rusher. J.P. Dieter's a pretty good interior guy. Jacob Kangaika is a good anchor type of a D tackle that you can pair with C.J. Fight. I think Justin Watley has done a pretty good job. He's been banged up recently. Linebacker, they're much deeper. On top of Caleb McCullough and Tate Romney, now you have Keyshawn Elliott, Jordan Crook. You got Cyrus Fiasu, and kind of that's a nice group. And then in the secondary, the loss of Ed Woods, I think, that's a factor at cornerback. But they have in Cole Martin and Javon Robinson and L.T. Welch, and then other guys that they have coming back. I think that they still will be good. Safety is one of the strengths of the team. What I noticed tonight was they fly around. Like, you can tell that there's some speed and athleticism out there. Some guys with some movement skills, and again, they're not going to be great, but they should be deep enough and talented enough if they execute that they can be very competitive.
What does this team still got to figure out before fall camp?
Quarterback play. You got to have another jump. We said Levitt had a jump through spring ball. He has to have another jump by August. You can't have turnovers. That's the most important thing, is if you win the turnover margin. It wasn't just that last year ASU had offensive line injuries and quarterback injuries galore. They also had one of the worst turnover margins in the country for most of the season. That has to change. You have to generate some. Brian Ward's defense tends to do that typically. You can't give the ball away. You got to be better on special teams, right? You're going to have a new punter. We'll see what happens with Cameron Floyd coming in here as a freshman. Maybe they can flip the field, play more field position opportunities. That's a big thing. So I think that they just tightening up everything that they're doing, getting some of their blitz packages down, making sure that they had too many penalties tonight. They had at the very beginning, they had the 2 false starts in a row, which I think were kind of a bad sign. It's not a loud environment. That really shouldn't happen. Yes, you are playing some offensive linemen that you probably wouldn't play in some of those situations. Joey Sua came on, first play gets a false start, but you got to tighten up a lot of that stuff between now and August.
And just kind of looking at, to close, the greater picture of the Dillingham era, how would you compare ASU and where they're at heading into the fall from this year to last year's this time?
Well, they're a better team. They're deeper. They're more talented. They're more athletic. They have more experience. They have more understanding of what they're trying to do schematically. Last year went about as bad as it can be to win only 3 games. The injuries, the turnovers, we talked about it, right? So ultimately, I expect a better season. But will it be a 4 or 5 win season, or will it be a 7 or 8 win season? There's a lot of variables that will impact that. Injuries, additional turnovers, who they get in the spring portal to maybe help shore up a couple of these spots, and then what they're able to do from a execution standpoint, minimizing the turnovers, minimizing the penalties, see what happens with quarterback play. There's a lot that we have to still sort of learn, but the trend line is going to be good. And they have a top 20 recruiting class right now. With 2025, I think they've done a pretty good job at understanding who to target and bring in. Not a lot of guys that they've added in the spring via the portal that I thought were misses. Everybody's at least seems like they can be a second team option, if not to be a starter. So the evaluation piece is really important. I think the culture is improving. You got rid of some of the guys that maybe were from the previous regime and woe is me, or just kind of not having that competitive disposition. So again, this wasn't going to happen overnight given the challenges that they had, that they inherited, but year 2 will be better. Year 3 will probably be better than that.
ASU looking to continue to progress, and first steps start in this spring, and now spring ball comes to a close for the Sun Devils. Chris, as always, appreciate your insight. And Blake Neiman signing off from Mountain America Stadium. We'll see you all soon. Stay tuned for all the coverage coming your way at SunDevilSource.